Reaction to this much more, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. You know, I thought of you when I heard this, not because of what's said here,
right,
but because when you tried to turn New York around and end crime and the murder rate, you were eviscerated in the press.
Absolutely.
And everything you said, they would equate.
Everything I said was seen as somehow racially motivated. Here's the thing that was really strange about it and counterproductive. Every single thing I was doing had tremendous benefit for the minority community, much more so than even the white community. You know, when crime was at 2,000 murders a year, proportionately, that was affecting the African American and Latino community. Yeah, I mean, it was dramatically affecting those communities. And when that number went down by 65%, the lives that were saved were primarily African American lives and to some extent Latino lives. And I'll tell you, all these characters, these commentators are one thing, but when you go talk to people, they are enormously appreciative of it.
Yeah. On an individual
when I would go to, I do town hall meetings every month. I would go into a community that had a lot of crime. They were begging me for more cops. Forget stop and frisk. Forget civilian complaints. They wanted more cops. How about more cops?
All right, I want to look down the road a little bit because now if you say Obamacare, I guess that's a banned word.
No, that's
crazy.
We got to really stand up to that. That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Romney Care? What was that, anti-Mormon?
Yeah.
Romney Care is anti-Mormon? Hillary Care? What was that, anti-woman?
Yeah, you know, it's anything, but this is a problem that I think that conservative candidates, and I want conservatives to win, face, that they're anti-woman, they're anti-minority, anti-Hispanic,
but that's
they want to kill old people, they want to kill children, and they don't care.
This is pure propaganda. It is absolutely outrageous, and I believe it's racist. I believe what they're doing is racist. Obamacare is a neutral way to describe a program that, after all, is the president's centerpiece program. We use terms like Nixonian, Clintonian, right?
But don't you think
Romney Care, Hillary Care?
Don't you think the demonization...
Nothing racial about it at all.
Granted, but don't you think the demonization, especially in campaigns, that this tactic, there's a reason they bring it up every election cycle.
It works because we never, we don't stand up to it.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some Republican goes and apologizes, doesn't want to use the word Obamacare at this point. It's absurd. They're the ones playing racial politics. When you try to make something racial out of the description Obamacare, which, after all, the president himself has used, he's proud of his program. I mean, we know his program is awful.
Even now?
Well, he claims to be proud of his program. But this is a question of a program that was an ill-conceived program, just like Hillary's program was ill-conceived. Hillary was lucky it never got passed. If that had passed, Hillary wouldn't be running for president of the United States at any point.
You know, before we came on the air, we were talking about, you recently got briefed, you're still in the security business, for those that don't know.
Yes, right.
On the situation in Iran. As I understand, the new president of Iran may actually meet Obama. They may run into each other at Mandela's funeral.
Yeah, I don't think we realize how damaging this agreement is, this so-called interim agreement, because it did two things that aren't interim at all. First of all, it recognized the regime. By reaching an agreement with the regime, you bless them, you recognize them. We should be for regime change in Iran. If you take out Mubarak, Gaddafi, and you want to take out Assad, how can you justify not wanting to take out the mullahs, who are worse than all three of them combined, and have killed more Americans than all three of them combined? So that's off the table. Second, in the agreement, despite what the president says, in the interim agreement is the recognition that they will have nuclear power for peaceful purposes. 6 UN resolutions prohibited that. 6 UN resolutions understood that. We're never going to be able to tell whether they can just easily move over to becoming a nuclear power if they can enrich uranium to the extent that they can use it for peaceful purposes. And finally, I spent the weekend with many knowledgeable Iranians who know everything about what's going on there. They don't need the peaceful use of nuclear power. This is an oil-rich, natural gas-rich country. The last thing they need is nuclear power. So this is a total phony. And for our president not to get it is frightening.
You know what's worse, too, is we don't even have access to all of the facilities, only the ones they've determined that we have access to.
And they are doing everything they can to wipe out the MEK, which is the group that I work with. The MEK was the source of our information in 2002 that Rouhani was lying to us back in 2002.
Wow.
They were the source of the information in 2006.
Last question. Do you think
they were lying to us?
Do you think Israel has any other option? Because I don't see one, than to take out these sites with or without U.S. approval, support?
Sean, that's a tough decision.
I don't think they have a choice.
Well, it's a tough decision because, number one, I'm not sure that it can be effective. I don't know the military capacity of Israel and whether they could really be effective in doing it. And even if they could be, at this point, they'd be so ostracized, that would be a tremendously heavy burden. In order to do that, they're going to have to develop some pretty strong relationship with Saudi Arabia. They seem to be doing that. With the Emirates, with Jordan, where I think you have an equal amount of fear. To some extent, Turkey, although they're going to probably be a little less open about it. I think Turkey has a tremendous amount of fear about what's going on.